Hallo Freunde der aufgehenden Sonne und willkommen zu einem neuen Video hier auf diesem YouTube-Kanal. Ja, bevor das Video hier losgeht, möchte ich kurz was zum Kontext sagen. Und zwar habe ich in diesem Video 3 meiner Kumpels aus meinem Wohnheim interviewt über ihre Zeit in Japan. Und zwar sind es alles Leute, die wie ich im Auslandssemester hier in Tokio an der Waseda-Universität, die Uni mit der meisten Energie in Japan übrigens, machen. Ich habe die 3 einfach zu ihrer Zeit in Japan befragt. Niklas ist seit paar Monaten erst hier. Die anderen beiden sind schon ungefähr so wie ich 10 Monate hier. Und ja, wir fangen einfach direkt an mit dem Video. Ganz viel Spaß damit und Film ab. Let's go.
I'm Joe. I'm 23. I'm from the UK.
My name is Niklas and I'm from Denmark, and my home university is the University of Copenhagen.
My name's Aiden. I'm 21 and I'm from Canada.
I was really interested in Japanese books. I used to work at a bookshop when I was back home in the UK, and lots of my favourite authors are Japanese authors, so I thought a really good way to find out about that would be to come and visit the country.
First place, I think I learned to read back when I was 5-6 years old, reading Dragon Ball. So I think that was like the first time I got exposed to Japanese culture and anime. And when I finished high school, I went to Japan for 3 weeks, and I just thought, man, I need to come back. I need to try to see what it's like to live here, to be here for a longer time, and to talk with Japanese people also.
So I picked Japan because I knew I wanted to go on exchange somewhere, and I knew that I wanted to go to a big city. Tokyo being one of the biggest cities in the world, knowing Japan as a safe country, I heard people were friendly too. I had a good impression of Japan. I wanted to go to a big city, and Tokyo seemed cool.
The biggest difference, I think, between the UK and Japan is probably the politeness of the people. I think we definitely have a stereotype in the UK that people are maybe quite polite and gentlemanly, but I don't think that's always true. And I think there's often a little bit of rudeness that comes along with being British, often in a friendly kind of way. But I think Japan kind of flips that on its head, where everybody's super polite on the surface level, and when you're hanging out with Japanese people or you're just meeting Japanese people for the first time, they're very welcoming and accepting. That was the biggest difference I found with Japan and the UK.
Yeah, one thing that's a big difference is when we talk to our boss in Denmark at work, we just say like his first name, and we're like, it's very friendly. And I feel like here in Japan, the boss, he's like a king or a god or something.
Probably the biggest difference that I noticed would be people in Canada tend to be louder and a bit more outgoing, but also a bit more rude. And like in Japan, people are they're very concerned about being polite and having good manners, so I find people are a bit more quiet and more polite. So I'd say that's the biggest difference between the two, yeah.
I'm not really into nature or hiking or anything like that back at home, but since I got to Japan, I really started to appreciate it in, just a way that you can go out and travel like 2 hours from Tokyo, and you're in these like amazing mountains. And that's the thing that I found the most special since I got here.
I really love the food, and I like the nature. I like that you can take the train for an hour and then you're in the mountains, and you can take the train for an hour and then you're at the water. Of course we have sea in Denmark, plenty of it, but we don't have mountains, and I really enjoy that.
So one of my favorite things in Japan has been going, like when we go out to an izakaya or to a bar. In Canada, there tends to be more like kind of aggression, I find, in the nightlife. So like when you go out with some friends, like you'll have a good time, but there'll always be 1 or 2 people there that are kind of angry or looking for a fight or staring at you or something. Yeah. In Japan, I find it's more like people are just, especially because I'm a foreigner, right? People are more open to actually just being friendly and having a chat, and there's not really that same kind of like aggressiveness that I see in Canada. Yeah. So I just find it really fun to go out at night here, because it's just, you just focus on the fun. You don't have to worry about some jerks or whatever. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of paperwork here. it's quite difficult to do things quickly. Everything's done just so, and it means that everything kind of works and it's efficient. It's efficient in a way that's quite inconvenient. So, and Japanese people, they like to stick to things the way exact things should be done exactly. But I think Japanese people, they take it to the extreme. It's not that I don't like it, it's just a bit of a nuisance sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure like walking around there's plenty of things that annoys me, but right now I can't really recollect anything. I like being here a lot, enjoying my time here.
That's awesome. That's nice to hear.
Sometimes you don't really know what Japanese people really think, because sometimes people are so focused on being polite that it can kind of sound like a bit robotic the way they act and talk with you. So it can be sometimes kind of hard to know like when someone's really interested in talking to you versus kind of just being polite. So that would probably one thing that I don't like too much, is kind of being unsure about that.
I think it's beer. I really miss beer. Going to the pub. I think there's a nice culture in Japan of izakayas, and going there is really fun because they're very sociable, but they lack on like nice beer. It's alright, it's cheap, but I think if you want a really nice beer, it's a lot of money in Japan. So I miss a nice, really good cheap pint. It's really simple, but that's it.
I miss good bread. Bread here is so white, it's like putting your tongue out the window. It's like the same level of nourishment. I really miss like rye bread, like something I can eat and then I feel stuffed. And also fruit is really expensive here. I kind of miss Danish fruit, the prices.
I'd say honestly one of the things I miss the most is a lot of the food. Like I'm vegetarian, so in Japan it can be kind of hard to find vegetarian food, especially when you go out to a restaurant. The nice thing about Canada is there's always like a vegetarian option, but then here it can be kind of hard to find like a vegetarian option. So I kind of miss being able to just go out to any restaurant with friends and always know I'll have something to eat.
Not really. Maybe I was expecting it, but it was something that people just kind of leave you alone, especially in Tokyo. Tokyo is it's quite an impersonal city, like most big cities. I do feel like I'm quite tall here. When I'm walking around, I bump into things a lot. Yeah, other than that, I've never experienced any like being uncomfortable in Japan. Never any racism.
I think people have been very nice, but I definitely feel different. I know a big part of it is probably in my head.
But not any discrimination or something?
No, maybe only like positive, like compliments for my blonde hair. They call my hair blonde here. I'm not blonde in Denmark, but I am here.
Blonde too, but
okay.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I would say I personally haven't experienced anything that I would feel like was racist. I'm pretty tall, so that stands out. So sometimes people will kind of look at me, and I'm sure they know like he's a foreigner. But aside from that, I don't really feel like I've been treated too much differently for being a foreigner, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Leeds, and Leeds is a very cheap city in the UK. It's in the north. But in London, things are a lot more expensive. So I feel like people from London probably have a different experience where everything's a lot cheaper here. But everything's about the same. I was used to the rent prices. Nothing seems way too expensive or way too cheap. Maybe clothes are a bit more expensive, and definitely groceries. Groceries are the one thing that everyone complains about being more expensive, but you just eat out more. Eating at restaurants is super cheap here, and that's the nice thing, because I never get to do that at home. Yeah, it's been about the same. My living cost has not really changed, which I've been surprised by. It's nice.
I feel like Copenhagen is more expensive, especially like public transport, and if you just want a quick meal. But somehow when you live here in Japan, like money just disappears. Like I don't know if it's like small expenses that add up or what it is. But I would say maybe a little bit cheaper than Copenhagen, but Copenhagen is also really an expensive city. Beer prices is about the same, I would say.
So some things are cheaper, some things are more expensive. Like going out at night is cheaper when there's more of a variety of places here. So like you can go out for really cheap or you can go out for really expensive.
Oh yeah.
In Canada, it's more kind of similar across the board. So if you want to go out for a really cheap night of drinking here, it's a lot easier in Japan than Canada. Groceries, I find Japan is a bit more expensive for especially fruits.
Oh,
yeah, fruits are crazy here. Like, I don't eat fruit anymore. Yeah, fruits and vegetables are more expensive in Japan. Other living costs, I'd say, are similar to Canada, but it really depends on what it is.
I really love, as a city, Osaka. It's a really lively city. Amazing nightlife, great food. People there are just that little bit friendlier than other Japanese people. My favourite spot, Yamadera in Yamagata is amazing. It's a few hours train ride north of Tokyo, but it's definitely worth it. You can't beat it. It's really, really amazing.
I do really like Tokyo. Okay. I'm such a fan of it. There's just something about this capital that's so alive, and you can spend so much time here because every metro stop feels different in a way.
The first place that comes to my mind would have to be Yoyogi Park in Tokyo. I've had so many great days just walking around there and just seeing all the people, and it's such a huge, beautiful park right in the middle of the city, so you can go from like all the buildings and excitement to a huge park. Yeah, that's probably my favorite place in Tokyo.
You've made a small handful of Japanese friends. It's difficult because as international students, we're living in an international dorm, so you don't really get the chance to meet Japanese people in daily life. I think the most Japanese people that we've met have been just at bars, and Japanese people open up when they're drunk, and that's a really nice thing.
I feel like there are some Japanese who have spent a year abroad in Europe or the States or Australia, and I feel like they're easier to get to know, also because their English is better. So yeah, there's definitely like two kinds of Japanese people that I just meet. I think language barrier it has to do with that.
Yeah, so I've met a decent amount of Japanese people here. I wouldn't say I met too many new friends though. More kind of people that you meet maybe once or twice when you go out, you have fun, you talk, you exchange line, but maybe not, you don't always end up talking to them after. I think that's pretty similar to Canada too, is like, it's hard to make a deep connection with people based on meeting them once, right? So yeah, I think it can be a little bit hard though if you're not like fully fluent in Japanese, I think, because you can't really get to know someone on a deeper level if you don't have the words to ask or explain, right?
Yeah.
So it can be a little hard, yeah.
I'd say my advice is just meet as many Japanese people as you can. There's tons of online apps that you can use. So yeah, I found it easy when I got here just by even hanging out with one or two Japanese people, just doing your best to like use the language as much. For me, just the little bits of kind of conversation that I've managed with people, and especially with people's parents, people who can't speak English, really helps because it forces you to use the Japanese that you know. And I thought that I knew like hardly any when I got here, and realizing that like I knew a little bit more than I thought, it boosts your confidence, and that like gets you on a roll, which is definitely the most helpful thing.
Yeah, I'm just starting the journey myself, but I would say make it fun. Like watch something you find interesting, or try and read something you find interesting. It's a bit hard in the beginning. I think you need the basic grammar down, but as soon as you just know a few words, seek out something fun, because otherwise you're gonna get stuck, I think.
Number one thing would definitely be to try talking as much as you can, even if you're not confident. Sometimes you don't know what word to use, you don't know what to say. Like sometimes people will kind of help you, you know, if you just try, you can kind of get somewhere. But if you don't try, you won't really get better.
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give people is try melon pan. Melon pan is, I think, I think the best thing that Japan's invented. The first thing that I ate when I got to Japan, I eat them almost every day now. Japanese melon pan's like 100% the best thing.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
I had an idea that Japan was this high-tech community where everything just worked. Yeah, a lot of things really works. The train comes on time, but like bike lanes, they don't really have that. Yeah, and like you really learn a lot of what you thought about Japan is perhaps not true.
So it's definitely interesting to discover it, right?
It is,
How
yeah.
is it really? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
This is kind of like a really basic thing, but I didn't expect how much like cash was used here.
Oh.
Like I have a bag full of coins in my room, like hundreds of coins that I'm trying to use. I didn't expect Japanese people to like go out so much. Like every night of the week, no matter what neighborhood you're in, there's gonna be people out at bars, at restaurants, at izakayas. I mean, it's such a big city, so that's probably why, but to me that just, I didn't expect like how much stuff there is in Tokyo, how many things to do and people that are always out no matter what time. So yeah, to me that's pretty crazy.
All right, that's basically all.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thanks.
Ja, interessante Einblicke auf jeden Fall, wie ich finde, von den 3 Austauschstudenten. Wenn ihr das Video auch interessant fandet, lasst gerne einen Daumen nach oben da. Vielen Dank nochmal an die Jungs. Thank you guys. Wir sehen uns dann wieder beim nächsten Video. Macht's gut und am Ende immer ein Peace.